Hey everybody, just wanted to make a quick video today as I'm reflecting on my 20s. Today I turn 30, and for a while I kind of viewed that number as like uh, sort of a milestone of like at 30 I'll sort of have my life together. And I think anybody that's older than me or is my age understands that that's like totally ludicrous to have that expectation. Um, so I'm reflecting on all the lessons I've learned over my 20s, all the things that have happened, and uh, maybe some things I thought I had figured out when I was in my early 20s. So just a quick recap as I'm reflecting. So I've had 3 jobs. Um, I fell in love and got married. I've been married for almost 7 years now. Um, I've had about, I think, around 25 people die in my life over my 20s. Um, some of them were acquaintances or people that I worked with. Some were people really close or people that meant a lot to me, friends, family, um, and one cat, one very sweet cat. That one actually was very hard. Um, and some things that I learned through that specifically before I go into anything else. In my early 20s, as the deaths started to pile on, I didn't even realize it at the time, but I distanced myself from people because I think subconsciously I was afraid that if I got close to someone that they would die and they would pass too soon. Not like anything because of me, but it was almost like an expectation. Like, I meet somebody and I'm close with them and then they die, and then, I'm sure you've all had some form of loss in your life. You can fill in the blank with that. But in the later half of my 20s, I had some more close people, family that I really valued that passed, and I realized that each person that passes too soon is a reason to become whatever you're meant to be, or however God designed me to be. Um, maybe because they weren't able to live on and have their life, or maybe they died at the end of their lives and had a very full life. Because I've had, all my grandparents had passed, they had very full lives. But now I view death and grief as sort of a reason to keep going, a reason to push through the mundane and hardships that life throws at us. Which brings me to the next big milestone that happened to me. I believe it was in 2020, because it was right around the pandemic. I got Lyme's disease, and I got really, really sick. I lost 4 years of my 20s, really the last 4 years of my 20s, to a disease that absolutely wrecked my body. I'm sure a lot of you that see this video, if you're even watching through all of this, I know this might be a little bit longer of a video than most people watch on Facebook or YouTube, but man, I lost 4 years of my prime to a sickness, but I don't really view it that way. I actually see it as a blessing because of the lessons that I learned through, having my life stop, basically. I learned that my value isn't in what I do, but in how I treat people. And in the connections that we have with people. I realized that no matter how bad I felt, as long as I um, checked in on my wife and made sure that she was doing okay, and as long as I was there in whatever capacity I could be there for the people close to me, that I was doing a good job. Everything in my life stopped, and like I said, my value wasn't in what I did, because I still had loads of people around me that liked me, that loved me. And just as a marker for just how bad I felt, I mean, I wasn't really sleeping. I wasn't really eating much because of the medication that I was on. And I was in so much pain, it would keep me up at night. I was about 106 pounds, 105, 106, somewhere in there, when I was at my worst. And I was so frail and my joints hurt so bad that I couldn't really walk, or really do much of anything. Again, I couldn't even really sleep because I was in pain. And through that pain, I learned that that there is still love in my life. There's still value, and there was a time in there that I didn't know if I was ever going to get better. I wasn't surrendered to the idea that that was just going to be my life, but life is very uncertain, and I didn't know if I was going to get better, which leads me to the healing story, the good part. So I was going to a Lyme's specialist, a great doctor by the name of Frank Noonan. And while I was getting treatment, I still wasn't healed. He died, just out of nowhere. I don't know how he died. I just got a call from his office letting me know, hey, we can't treat you anymore because the doctor's dead. Forgive me if I'm kind of giggling about that, but sometimes stuff just piles on and happens that you kind of just can't help but laugh. It's like you can't even make this stuff up, So I'm stuck in the middle of Lyme's disease with no doctor. I find another doctor, sort of more natural route. And I wasn't really getting better through that treatment. So through this whole time of having Lyme's disease, at my local church, we had started a prayer ministry for healing for people. And we do a lot of inner healing work, and I know the word healing ministry has a lot of baggage for a lot of people, but I'd like to share what happened to me. So through this process, I had many meetings with our team, and sometimes you want to pray to have God heal you and nothing happens, and you can be tempted to feel, well, maybe God doesn't want to heal me, or maybe God doesn't heal. But I found out that that's just not true, and I had enough of my own baggage that I needed to let go of before that healing could take place. I'll explain a little bit of that. I can't go into it in full detail because this video would be an hour long. We're looking at 9 minutes already, and I'd like to wrap this up soon. Some of the biggest tipping point in prayer for me that came up was I had this way of viewing myself as a perfectionist, and I was very negative towards how I talked to myself through whatever situation. And the one person that was praying for me said, it is how you talk to yourself how God views you. And I knew the answer to that was no, but I don't think I ever realized in the moment, while I'm having these sort of negative self-talk, just how much I beat myself up over things that weren't fair to beat myself up over. And what he told me was, this negative self-talk, I was actually telling my body, like in my mind or subconsciously, that it deserved sickness and death. So we did some prayer to clean some of that up. But it took months to come out of that way of thinking. It was not instantaneous. I had my homework cut out for me. And through the process of getting closer to God and getting closer to the people in my life, I realized just how negative I was. And and you may be tempted to think like, oh, this is a mind over matter kind of situation. That is not what was happening. I was agreeing with a lie that was not from God's design and not how he views me. So when I rejected that lie, every time it came up, right? Because again, this wasn't instantaneous. It took some work to get to where I'm at now. As I went through this process of healing how I view myself and how God sees me, I started to get better. Like I started to heal, and I started to be able to eat, and I started to be able to sleep, and I started to gain weight and get stronger again and get my mind back. And then I got to start to do that same prayer work with other people and see them get set free. Looking back now, it's almost like, did any of that really happen? Like it feels almost so far away. But in conclusion, I guess, to this video that's already gone far too long, I'm thankful for all the lessons that I've learned in my 20s. And in a lot of ways, I kind of feel like I'm starting over. I'm starting new. I'm starting fresh, but with lessons learned that I never would have even known that I needed to learn going into life. And I got to learn them at a young age. So I'm looking at my 30s like a bright future, even through all the things that have happened to me, which there's a lot more that happened to me that I can't share here, because again, this video will be hours long. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for listening to my story. If you'd like to learn about all the little detail of all the stuff that's happened to me, reach out. I'd love to, get lunch or have you over sometime, or maybe we can meet up. I love to talk about the things that have happened in my life and hear stories of what's happened in other people's lives. So my door's open there. I don't know how many comments, if I'll have any comments on any of these videos that I post, or this video that I post. I say these videos because I'm going to post it in a couple places. I don't know if I'll be able to respond in depth to any questions you might have, but reach out to me and if you'd like to learn more. If not, that's fine too. I guess the only other thing I have to say is God is good. Jesus is victor. And thank you for listening.